but no matter how hard I fight, I die. Every single day.
Welcome to the Movie Summary channel. If you like the featured video, please watch it in the theaters near you, or buy or rent the original movie from the links provided in the description. Like and share the video as it will help us out, and comment on what movies you like to be featured next. Movie Summary does not condone piracy and follows and complies with the fair use law. Now, let's watch the featured video. Simply sit tight, relax, and enjoy the video. Be aware that there is heavy spoilers ahead.
I've been waiting for this for a long time.
The film opens on the morning of May 9th in the apartment of former Delta Force Captain Roy Pulver. He wakes up in bed next to a woman named Alice, who screams and flees as a man with a machete enters and swings at Roy's head. Roy acts everything out in a rehearsed fashion, dodging the hitman's exact movements to defend himself and complaining that it's gotten annoying. Outside, a chopper flies up with another assassin who fires a machine gun, killing the first assassin when he is mistaken for Roy. As the second one fires wildly into the apartment, Roy just slumps against the couch and looks at a picture of his ex, Gemma Wells. After the chopper crashes through the window, Roy jumps out onto a truck of sand, which he notes that he missed 22 times before getting it right before carjacking a guy and evading two more assassins, both of whom he refers to as Pam and Esmeralda. Roy drives recklessly and realizes he forgot about an oncoming truck, which he crashes into and then died after flying through the window. Roy then explains through narration that he has died 140 times thus far, as he must relive the exact same day over and over. The problem is, no matter how many assassins he evades, more keep showing up. In addition to the first four, there is a swordswoman named Guan Yin, who always declares her name and admission after she beheads Roy. "I'm Guan Yin, and Guan Yin has done this." There is a dwarf nicknamed Kaboom due to his use of explosives when going after Roy. There is even a man he refers to as Roy 2, as well as a guy named Smiley who impales him with a harpoon and drags him through the streets with his truck. During attempt 48, Roy had attempted to contact Gemma at her company, but the phone was answered by her boss, Colonel Clive Venter. He tells Roy that Gemma died in an accident, but Roy knows she was killed. He is then shot at and blown up by two men he calls the German twins. After one attempt where he kills Pat and Esmeralda in a warehouse by blowing them up, he goes to a diner where he orders 2 large bottles of Beiju from his bartender friend Jake. He also constantly listens to another patron, Dave, drone on about tedious anecdotes, leading Roy to drunkenly say something stupid because he stopped caring. He also notices a woman, Dai Feng, who always comes in at the same time. Roy notes that he has never lived past 12:47 p.m. because somehow the assassins always manage to find him. Flashback to May 8th. Which feels like months ago to Roy. He visits Gemma at her job, Dino, where she mentions him not being in the picture for their son Joe, who doesn't even know Roy is his father and just thinks of him as a friend of Gemma's. She is working on a large machine that controls time and space but could destroy the world if used improperly. Venter's henchman Brett comes out after the two are watching Roy and Gemma through surveillance. Brett takes Roy's resume, and Venter notes that someone like Roy could figure out what they are planning. Before Roy leaves, Gemma tells him to remember Osiris. Roy later goes to the bar where he meets Alice while talking to his other bartender friend, Gabrielle. When Alice goes to the bathroom, he gets a call from Gemma, who tells him that she may have to do something drastic. Roy remembers Osiris when he looks at a gift Gemma sent days before the 9th, a book called The Mythology of Isant and Osiris.
Happy birthday, Roy.
In it is a message from Gemma to Roy about living life forward, and that time waits for no man. Attempt 143. Roy goes to an underground arcade where he finds Joe after following him when he saw him get something from another kid earlier. Roy approaches him, and Joe says he ditched school for a video game tournament, and that he was just exchanging trading cards with the other kid. Roy spends time with Joe but is dismayed to have to tell him that Gemma is dead. When they get out of the arcade, Roy notes that it is now 12:50, which means he's lived longer than before. Unfortunately, the other assassins arrive to kill him, but he shields Joe from their bullets. As he dies, he tells Joe that he is his father, and he notes that he wished that was the final death. Roy realizes that he is being tracked since they previously could not detect him underground. At the restaurant, he tries to extract the tracker from his anus until Dave tells him that the tracker might be in one of his teeth. Roy pulls two out before finding the right one, just moments before he is killed. Now knowing which tooth to pull, he evades the first few hitmen before losing the tracker. When he is revived, he questions Alice as he remembered her being there when he was drugged at the bar. She tells him it was Brett who placed the tracker. He removes the tooth and uses it to lure Pam to an isolated area to kill her with her own gun. He also lures Smiley and kills him with his own harpoon and truck. Roy starts to go after the other assassins like Roy 2 and the twins, but he sets his sights on Venter and Brett. The first few times, he is killed by Dino Security and Brett himself, but he manages to get closer until he reaches Guan Yin, who dodges bullets with ease and always decapitates him. When she has him down at one point, Venter tells him that Gemma's machine is called the Osiris Spindle and that he plans to rewrite history with it by undoing terrible events in history, while eventually making himself a global dictator. After Roy resets, he seeks help from Dai Feng, who teaches him swordplay. It helps him improve, and he manages to kill Guan Yin during a duel. He kills Brett and then goes after Venter, but Venter asks him who is there to protect Joe. Roy rushes to the arcade, only to find that Joe has already been killed. Roy tries to rush to the scene, only for the Osiris Spindle to go off and destroy the world. Roy resets again but spends the next 15 attempts allowing the machete men to kill him since he feels that it is hopeless and that everyone will die no matter what. After a while, he breaks out of his depression and decides to spend his final moments with Joe. He goes to the arcade and bonds with him over many subjects and activities, getting to spend time as father and son like they never did. Joe always falls asleep just before the world ends. Attempt 249. Roy and Joe are talking, and Joe mentions getting a voicemail from his mom earlier that day. This means that Gemma is alive when Roy wakes up. He gets to Dino and sees that he has at least 14 minutes from when he wakes up to when Gemma is killed. He now knows what to do. On his next attempt, Roy kills the machete man and jumps onto the helicopter, throws the gunman out, and forces the pilot to fly to Dino. He eliminates security, and when he knows that the whole band of assassins will be at the door, he gets a machine gun and mows them down all at once. He makes his way to the main room and kills Brett and Venter. Gemma realizes the Osiris Spindle works as she had imagined. Roy tells her about all the times he has died and has been using his days to spend time with Joe. He is ready to step through the machine, even though Gemma doesn't know what will happen. He looks at her reassuringly one more time before setting foot in there. Roy wakes up again on May 9th, now having the time loop broken. He smirks, knowing what he must do, but also making sure not to die in the process.
But no matter how hard I fight, I die. Every single day.
Thank you for watching our featured video here in Movie Summary. I hope you have enjoyed watching our videos. Please like and share this video on your social media and subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Comment down below on what movies you like to be featured next, and click the notification bell so that you will be notified every time we post new videos. Bye for now, and see you in the next upload of our next videos.
I've been waiting for this for a long time.